Hi, I'm Mark Roach. I wanted to talk a little bit about EMDR, how I use it, and give you a little background on it. It's been pivotal in my life in helping me recover from some childhood traumas that I had encountered. And this is a technique that I can use anytime that I like. Again, let me tell you, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I have worked with dozens of doctors and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists and and neuroscientists, and I've studied how they use this, and I've also used some other techniques that I've brought in from film acting and from basically the human potential um, genre, from breath work, from doing athletics and body work, to tapping into your full emotional life, to bring that to the forefront, as well as gathering information from your life to make sure that you're getting everything from the circumstances of your life and bringing it to EMDR to allow your brain to heal. And let me read you some research that I did recently to tell you more about EMDR, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how I use it and how you might benefit from it. But EMDR, that stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it's a psychotherapy treatment originally designed to alleviate the distress associated with traumatic memories. It uses a structured approach to address past, present, and future aspects of disturbing memories, combining methods from various treatment approaches. During EMDR therapy sessions, the client attends to emotionally disturbing material in brief sequential doses while simultaneously focusing on an external stimulus. Most commonly, therapists directed lateral eye movement. The goal is to reduce distress, reformulate negative beliefs, and reduce psychological arousal associated with the traumatic memories. EMDR was developed by psychologist Francine Shapiro, a PhD in 1987. While walking in a park, Shapiro noticed that eye movements appeared to decrease the negative emotions associated with her own distressing memories. She assumed that eye movements had a desensitizing effect and began studying this effect, initially calling it eye movement desensitization. Shapiro developed EMD into a standard protocol by adding other treatment elements, including a cognitive component. By 1991, she changed the name to eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, to reflect the insights and cognitive changes that occurred during treatment and the information processing theory she developed to explain the treatment effects. Since then, EMDR has evolved through research and clinical practice. It is now recognized as an effective trauma treatment by organizations such as the American Psychiatric Association, World Health Organization, and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense. As of 2016, EMDR therapists in 130 countries have successfully treated millions of people. Well, what does that mean? Well, let me try to break it down for you. I think what she found was that by moving your eyes from left to right, back and forth, that she was able to, as she let herself feel into a memory that was causing her distress, that she found that memory or her body kind of relaxed. So, like, she's uptight, has this memory, and then she moves her eyes left and right, left and right, left and right, and she finds the stress of that memory um, is less. So that was an interesting, very, very simple thing that, I mean, if that works for you and it's that easy, then wow, great. What a powerful tool. If so you fell off your bike when you were a kid and you cried and got upset. And, later in life, you encounter some of those same feelings, think back, oh, that was upsetting. And you can move your eyes left and right. And suddenly you don't feel the distress because you actually didn't fall off your bike. At this moment later in life, there's something in your body that's kind of, trapped with some negative feelings from that accident that you had. And today you don't want to be drawn back into that those old wounds, because you're not even riding bikes anymore. Then but when you encounter those feelings, if you can move your eyes left and right, then and the feelings are gone, then yay. We don't even have to think about what might be going on, and what the deeper reasons behind that are. That'd be great if it worked like that. So for me, what was powerful, if you watched my last video about doing the deep work, I'd uncovered some childhood events that were very distressing for me. And what happens when you have these traumatic events, whether it's an accident or if you're maybe a soldier in combat and you have a trauma that you encounter, you see someone die or you get shot, or you're in a car accident and there's a shock to your system. What happens is that your body responds by it's almost like it takes and makes everything solid in some part of your brain. There's a hardening of the neurons and synapses around the activity that was taking place that you had that encounter with trauma. And so everything is suddenly, it's kind of like you got a broken arm, but this is not a broken arm. This is just part of your brain that gets solidified. And so you've got this, and then the circumstances go away. You feel better, and you go on in life, but you're walking around with this place in your brain that's got all these synapses and this hardened place. And so whenever you encounter a pattern similar to that circumstance where that trauma occurred, then the blood flow and the electrons, that flow through there that cause that are part of your operating system, they're acting as if this trauma is still, is once again present in your life, even though it's not there. So that hardened place would be something that if we could just snap our fingers and make it go away, I mean, that'd be great. But what that just doesn't happen naturally. So what this Shapiro, found was that by allowing her eyes to go back and forth while she was contemplating or letting herself feel into that trauma, then she was able to relieve some of the distress around it. And what therapists have done as they've used these EMDR techniques and developed them is that they'll find and try to help patients kind of bring up those memories around the circumstance that's causing them distress in their life and allow themselves to feel fully into that. And so be careful if you're trying to do this on your own for the first time, and if you don't have any experience with this, you should reach out to a therapist that's really trained to do this. But what I do just to show you. And I knew that this was something that I needed. And, and so I did this several years ago, and it made a huge difference for me. But I allowed myself to feel fully back into some of the childhood traumas that I'd encountered. Maybe, let's just use the one with my seeing my father, um, you know, deal with or really experience cognitive dissonance, and to have been a hero one day and then feeling totally limited the next because he'd been asked to not pursue organized crime and the drug cartel as diligently as he had, which caused him a mental breakdown. And also, we were also facing a threat to our lives by organized crime. So I let myself, go back into those feelings of being scared for my life. And, I, would sit with that, let myself feel that, kind of bring back a lot of the sensations, and maybe even let myself reflect back into that, maybe a room, in my bedroom where I experienced some of this distress. And then, I would use an object like this. I've got a pen here, and I move that from left to right, left, back and forth, letting myself feel fear and breathing as I feel that fear, and going back and forth, back and forth. And I would do this for, maybe several minutes, and then really kind of bring it to a close, to the point that I would feel some relief. And if I don't feel relief, then I'll allow myself to do it over and over and over again. And I'll usually have a journal and a notepad next to me, and I might jot down some notes. Maybe I'm thinking of some other thoughts or people or circumstances come up in my life, and I'll make a note of that because they may be associated with that network of hardening in my brain that maybe originated from that one original event, but there are some other events that are associated with it later in my life. And that's one of the things around complex PTSD. That's what makes it so complicated, is that there may be one original um, place that a lot of the distress begins, but then we tend to recreate these times in our life that further complicate our life because we're acting out of this limited state, that hardened place in our hearts or brains or body, our spirit. And this process will eventually help that be released. And what I like to do after I know that I've kind of gotten to the end of this, and you have to be very gentle with yourself, because if you get forceful, this is not going to work. You have to be very patient with yourself, because these things don't necessarily resolve themselves just overnight. It can happen, but I think that with the complex PTSD, more often than not, there's a series of layers that are going to need to be dealt with to peel the onion, so to speak, and get to the core issues and allow some acceptance and resolution of those to unfold in your life. Well, I hope this has been beneficial to at least give you insight as to what EMDR is, how the process works, and what it may take for it to be a successful tool for you. I'm Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.